Hello, and welcome to the IA Talks Innovation, the podcast where we dive into the intersection of innovation, technology, and investment management. My name's James King, and today we're exploring how innovation, from AI and digital assets to new ways of thinking about products, people, and partnerships, is reshaping our industry in real time. Now, as we all know, innovation can mean a lot of things. Sometimes it's cutting-edge technology, sometimes it's a shift in mindset, and sometimes it's a bit of both. So today, we're delighted to be joined by Ann Prendergast, the head of EMEA at State Street Global Advisors and the chair of the Investment Association, to talk about where the industry is heading, what's already changing behind the scenes, and what comes next. And to help unpack all of that, I'm very pleased to be joined by my co-host, Shruti Deb, who spends her days thinking about exactly these questions on innovation, policy, and practice. Shruti, over to you.
Thank you, James. So glad to be reunited with you as co-host for the CEO series. It's been a while since we've done one together on IA Talks Innovation. And so great to have you with us today, Anne. Welcome. You've been the chair of the IA for a few months now. And as Chris likes to say, it's the best trade body in the world. How has the experience been so far for you?
Well, thank you, first of all, James Shruti, for having me. It's great to be here. And my experience as chair of the IA has been busy, but very exciting. And I think one of the reasons it's so exciting is I'm a long time in this industry. But I think we're at a particular point now, which is different to how it's been in the past. And that is because we have more frequent uncertainties, including we're experiencing in the Middle East at the moment. But also there are significant macroeconomic forces at play. If you think about longevity, demographics, socioeconomic factors, fiscal pressures, technology, that governments are trying to deal with. And I think what's interesting is there's a realization that the financial services industry can help with some of these macroeconomic issues, and in particular, the asset management industry. And I see that most particularly in the UK, where government, industry and regulators are working together to really get behind some of these fundamental issues that we need to address. And the IA is spearheading some of those initiatives. So to be chair of the association through this time is very exciting for me.
Fantastic. And as the chair of the IA, what do you see as the key drivers for the UK's asset management industry to be adopting emerging technologies such as AI?
I think the overriding driving factor is just practicality. So firms are thinking about their operation efficiencies, managing their costs, strengthening their data security, and of course, always thinking about the client experience. And clients' expectations are another driver because they are always changing and increasingly so. Again, as they think about more transparency, more innovative product, more tailored products, faster to market. And so technology for our clients is now foundational. And their expectation from us is foundational. So therefore, we have to think about it. The other ways that we should think about it are we're asset managers, investment management is core processes in terms of what we do. So how do we drive scale, become more productive, use data better to get better outcomes for our clients? And then the other part is using AI, using technology to better run our businesses. So how can we streamline processes, again, productivity, reducing costs, just to do a better job.
Fantastic. We obviously talk a bit more later as well. We will dive into investor experience and client experience through various different lenses. But if I can just sort of pause and go behind the closed doors of the boardroom, rooms that James and I and our audience are not frequently a part of, and talk about how the rise of innovation and AI, and as you say, times are changing very, very quickly. For UK leaders, is it an exciting time when UK is very well positioned to sort of tap into the new technologies and innovation, or slightly dreadful as well, given the pace of development and change?
I would say actually exciting, yes, but it's more a sense of realism that this technology is here and we have to consider how we're going to use it effectively. And I described some of the ways earlier and how we do that. So it is that recognition that the industry can't stand still. But there's also has to be a strong understanding that technology cannot change our fundamental responsibility to the end investor as well. So combining those two things. And I think one area in particular where it's really interesting for us is when we think about product design. So the next stage of digitally enabled structures for clients, where data innovation and technology will come together and deliver products and help deliver products that are better serviced, governed, and will change the distribution of those products to the type of clients it is. But we have to think about all of this, and this is what the conversation we have at the CEO table and the board table is within existing regulatory frameworks, because we cannot lose the trust that we have with our end investors. The other thing that I would say is that AI is not the only topic of conversation. It is broader. We're talking about cyber, we're talking about resiliency, integrity of data, again, our clients' experience, and again, the regulatory framework in which we exist. So AI is part of that and forms part of all of that, but it's not the only consideration. And I think when you talk about from a UK perspective, what's interesting is because part of when we think about AI is what are the enablers? And the enablers are a talented workforce, strong ecosystem, particularly as we have here in the UK, a strong fintech ecosystem and a strong regulatory environment. And I think that gives the UK a unique opportunity to drive its competitiveness, both here domestically, but also internationally.
Absolutely.
Well, Anne, you're quite right that AI isn't the only topic of conversation. So you have to forgive me for asking you one more AI question. So the FCA has just consulted via the Mills Review on the long-term impact of AI on retail financial services. And we at the IA think this opens a very important discussion about what the future might look like. But from your perspective, how do you see AI altering the demands or behaviors of retail investors, and how might the industry have to change and adapt as a result?
I think what's interesting about the Mills Review is that it's not just seeing AI as a technology issue, but to your point, James, it's thinking about how it might profoundly reshape how the industry engages with retail investors. Really important initiative for the IA, the government and regulators currently. So using technology to think about that is important. And it is, again, around what I talked about earlier, the client experience. And the expectations from clients are changing. And retail investors are expected to be treated more like an institutional investor. So they want personalization, they want quick access, they want easy access. And AI will be the enabler for all of that. It also will change the way that people search for information, how they compare products, and indeed how they engage with providers ultimately in the longer term. And it's very fast moving speed at which these changes are happening. So I think our responsibility as an industry is to think about this adoption in a very disciplined way. So, and the Mills Review covers this, that both providers and regulators need to be ready for the shift and support this innovation, which is really important and could drive greater retail participation if we get it right, and it could drive better outcomes. But we need to safeguard the trust and the integrity and the customer protection, which is at the heart of what we do.
Brilliant. Moving beyond AI and onto another hot but often sort of not delved into enough topic on tokenization, really. So the IA has obviously been at the spearheading front of tokenization. We have the Investment Fund 3.0 initiative that emphasizes fund modernization and development. And it would be really interesting to hear your views on how do you see tokenization, sort of, again, maybe playing in with a bit of AI, transforming some of that product development and investor access for the UK asset management industry.
Yeah, well, what's really beneficial about Investment Fund 3.0 is that it is providing this safe and collaborative environment where service providers, asset managers, regulators can work together and test and validate the next generation of fund models in particular, and also create that standard interoperable ecosystem that I think we need to have in order to move forward in this space. And the other thing, as you say, it opens up is that we can think about more complex multi-asset products that maybe we struggle to do now because they're too operationally expensive to try and set up and to run. And so this means that we will allow investors access to a broader range of assets. But again, kind of aligning with what we talked about in the last comment, was we also have the potential to access a broader range of investors as well. So this is an exciting aspect of where we are in technology, which is something we should be looking forward to.
Yeah, as a young investor, youngish investor, I think that the dream for obviously 3.0 is to have sort of a tokenized fund holding tokenized assets, say a digit tomorrow, settled in tokenized money / CBDC stablecoins. So that entire ecosystem happening and settling on this in seconds. But still, I wouldn't say distant dream, still in the works, I suppose. Zooming back to State Street and not just UK, you're very well positioned, and because State Street has invested heavily in a digital assets platform, which spans tokenized funds, custody, and servicing infrastructure. Obviously, leading by example, clearly. Where do you think this kind of large-scale platform development is going in terms of moving from a more experimental stage to a more industrial-grade adoption in asset management?
Yes, so we are on this journey where in the early days of this, it really was testing the ideas around it with our clients and others. So can you tokenize an asset? Can you tokenize a fund? How does it operate with traditional finance models? And also, how do we ensure that we're doing it in a protected way? Again, making sure that we abide by regulatory requirements in this new model. So integration between the institutional process that we have now and traditional models with this new frontier. Our platform in State Street, our digital assets platform, is around helping that transition. So it helps connect asset managers in particular with the traditional finance and digital assets and ensure that there is a secure infrastructure for both tokenized funds, ETFs, alongside established custody, fund administration and accounting services, which is what everybody is used to. So marrying the two is so important. And so that's how we think about it, is we want to continue to ensure that we're operating within the frameworks that our clients and regulators expect and what they are most comfortable with, but giving them access to this new technology.
And it was great to hear what you said about the strength of the UK's fintech ecosystem not long ago. And of course, the IA has its own fintech accelerator, Engine. And Engine aims to foster partnerships between the most exciting fintechs and investment management firms. And Engine has published a blueprint for fintech engagement. So from your position as someone running an investment management firm, how do you think that investment managers can better collaborate with fintechs to drive efficiency and resilience?
Well, first of all, again, there's similar themes here, because what we're looking to do is move from that period of experimentation to real enterprise level adoption of AI, fintech. And I think there are three structural priorities that the IA Engine is looking to address. It's productivity, it's access to private markets, and it's personalization at scale. But to your question about how we, again, work together, traditional asset managers with fintech, I think there are some principles that we need to consider and abide by. And the first of that is that we know that, because we've seen, again, through that experimentation, where it works best. And where it works best is where both the collaboration between both asset managers and fintech are focused and they're practical, and it's grounded in a real business need. So it's not about innovation as a broad ambition. It really is, what is the problem you're trying to fix? Whether that's data quality and operational efficiency, resilience. So identify what the problem is, and that's when you're going to have the best results. I think the other thing that it calls out is that asset managers need to be ready to embrace this. So they have to be able to make quick decisions, have the right governance around it in order to really benefit from this engagement. And it's also, part of that is treating the fintechs as partners rather than suppliers. And that change in perspective is really important for the collaboration and for the success of it. And some of this we have to be cognizant of. Again, everything we talk about is regulation. There's regulation there that does support some of these conversations, particularly DORA in the EU and UK's operational resiliency and critical third-party regimes. And that again provides a framework where asset managers are compelled to think about the risk management of their third-party providers and what's good exit planning and how do we report when incidents arise.
Thanks, Ann. Fortunately, we've talked a lot about innovation, forward-thinking, positive things, but we also live in a world where cyber risks and resilience are increasingly becoming part of everyday conversation, if not every hour. I get those random emails from Chris Cummings needing me to do something immediately all the time, and having to also battle with AI juxtaposed with creating sort of content that looks real but isn't. James here leads our cyber resilience work. I suppose as CEO, you're clearly having to juggle many, many plates at once and then focus in on new technologies and staying on top of that, but also looking at evolving risks. So as the industry innovates, how do you ensure that you are staying on top of these risks and really keeping a close eye so it doesn't disrupt all the good work we're all trying to do here?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good question. And the other part of it is not just more risks, but the risks are broader. And there's also this interconnectivity between some of the risks that we have to be more cognizant of. And it is all around managing those risks. So, but recognizing what I've just said, we can't treat risks in isolation. So cyber is not just an IT risk. Liquidity is not just a product risk. Mm-hmm. We have to understand how they interact. So if we have a technology outage or a data issue or a third-party failure, any one of those could quickly become a client or a regulatory or indeed a market event. So being prepared for that is increasingly important. That's conversations that we have. And so we do what you'd expect us to do. We have our stress testing, we have our resiliency programs, we have our business continuity programs. We ensure that we're testing our operating models all of the time. But then the other side of it is we have to ensure that governance and risk management doesn't stymie innovation. And it's this constant battle. So, but also that we innovate in a risk-aware way. And the other thing around risks is that culture really matters. So our people are so important in this. And that because they are first line of defense. So their understanding of the risks that they have within their own function, of how those risks are managed, and the impact if something goes wrong on the broader organization or the broader market is really, really important. And that's on us as leaders to ensure that people feel that accountability, that they're equipped to deal with that as and when it rises.
That's such a good point about people being at the center of this. So as technology continues to reshape investment management, how do you see the skill set of people working in this industry changing? And what would you say to younger people entering the industry? What should they be focusing on? And actually, the people who've been in this industry for a long time, how should they be looking at their skill sets and trying to keep up with this tidal wave change that's washing over us?
So at an overriding level, I think the expectation we all have to have is that the skills we'll need will broaden. Some things won't change. So we'll still need investment management skills, client skills, risk management skills. It might look a little bit different. It might be multidisciplinary, that people have an investment background but also have an analytics background as well. But we will have new skills that we'll need. So data analytics, technology, again, maybe risk in a different perspective. The other thing that we have to think about as leaders is that technology is moving faster than our education systems. So we need a workforce that is constantly adapting, is flexible, is reskilling all of the time. And again, whether it's existing or new members of our workforce, we have to ensure that we have the structures in place to allow them to do that, because that's the reality of what we're going to experience over the next while. And of course, for us, we're a large organization. We say that our people are our greatest assets, and that is true. So the investment that we make in our people is really important, so that they feel comfortable embracing some of these new technologies, but again, understanding the context in which it makes sense.
Yeah. That's how James and I got onto podcasting, reskilling, upskilling.
There you go. Well, yeah.
In addition to our daily day jobs, I suppose really would love to hear from you on any sort of thoughts on the outlook of the industry and any concluding thoughts on what it may all look like a year's time from today, I suppose.
Oh, wow. A year. I don't know if I think that it's a period of reinvention rather than simply growth. And so that's why when I started at the top, I said how exciting it is. It's different. There's lots happening, which is exciting for all of us who've been in this industry for a long time. And I think, again, it is technology can help us operate in different ways. It can give us access to different clients, give us access to different products. But there are some aspects of what we do that won't change. And that's around our stewardship. It's around our fiduciary responsibility. It's a lot around us thinking long term for on behalf of our clients. But it will be different for clients and how we deliver to them and how they experience investing. And that's again is a good thing, as you say, to have a digital wallet, to be able to trade 24/7. The idea that we might have that is very exciting. And the ability for me as a business owner to drive more scale, more productivity through our business is really important as well. When I think about trends more broadly, I would say that if I say that there are three trends that I think most particular for our industry. The first is innovation, which we've spent the last while talking about. So very exciting, whether that's data automation, AI, tokenization. They're already been tested. We need to see them on a broader scale and embedding them. And again, this embedding them safely is really, really important. The second thing is our clients. Their expectations are increasing. They want more personalization. They want greater transparency. They want better value for money. So that is something we always have to have front and center. And then we operate in a highly regulated industry. And that is important again. So, but making sure that regulation doesn't act as a brake on innovation, but rather it gives us a framework that we can do it in a safe way that delivers the right outcomes for our clients. So as we think about it from a State Street Investment Management point of view, what our clients, when we talk to our clients, what they're looking for is they want scale, they want operation resiliency, and they want disciplined innovation from their asset managers. And somebody that can help them navigate through this challenging environment. All of those things help them to do that. So I think in the future, our industry is going to it's more digital, more interconnected, and more outcome focused. And we will be able to combine, and we need to find a way to combine the innovation with, again, our overriding responsibility of stewardship and fiduciary that our clients expect from us.
And that's a fantastic point on which to end. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming in to share your perspective and insights with us. And thank you very much to everyone for listening. Please do join us again for future episodes.
And thank you. Thank you to you both. It was a good conversation. Thank you.